Ready, set, and here we are. Hey, LaShonda.
Hi, girl.
How are you? And we have a guest, who LaShonda will introduce.
Yes, I will introduce. But first and foremost, I'm LaShonda.
And I'm Angela.
And we are a Black woman and a white woman walk into a bar.
Woohoo! So what is this? Like our 14th episode or something?
I think this is 14.
I think it's 14.
That's a lot of episodes. We've been doing this for a minute now. We're kind of old.
We have been.
So today we have a guest, and it's my friend Keith, last name redacted because people who teach. Welcome, Keith.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. That's a great hat you're wearing.
I love this stupid hat. I got it with a bag of bait.
You got it with what?
A bag of bait? Like you'll see these things in any, like all those stores that, you fishing supply place. It's like buy, red regular and bait, and well, they also sell hats, like almost always.
Well, what I like about it is how it goes with the shirt. You got a whole ensemble going on.
My kids call this my sriracha look, so I'm kind of get that happening.
It works.
It's part sriracha and part like 90s hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I got a baseball bat over here. I was gonna start waving around,
and it would work.
Well, the 90s were my heyday, so that kind of makes sense.
You know what? We love the 90s.
I'm kind of stuck in the 80s myself, but the 90s were good too.
Yeah,
it was great. But I recently listened to Soundgarden because someone made me.
I love Soundgarden.
Oh, not Spoon Man.
It pains you to hear me say that. I can see that on your face.
No. I mean, it's like so much legitimate talent and this, but Spoon Man. I mean, if we're gonna narrow it down to a it's okay if I don't hear that again kind of song from Soundgarden, we're getting real, Spoon Man. I don't need to hear that again.
We won't make you.
This time.
Speaking of music, for some reason I've had the Star Wars theme going through my head all day. Why are my glasses sitting? It's starting to make me crazy. I mean, I love Star Wars, but there's only so much you can have that earworm going before.
So we need to have Angela?
Yes.
This week.
We're toasting my aunt who just passed away last night. My mom is one of 7 girls, and she grew up on a farm outside of a little town called Millbank in South Dakota. And so she grew up on a farm. I think they moved into town when she was 12. And I just think of my poor grandpa. He's a farmer and he has nothing but daughters. He doesn't have any sons. And that was in the day when women, I mean, they worked really, really hard, but they weren't, he didn't have his daughters out there plowing the fields, in other words.
Not that they couldn't.
Not that they couldn't, but that was just, they just didn't do that. So my mom's oldest sister, she lost one sister. I think, let's see, Judy died, I think about 2 years ago. And so her oldest sister, Darlene, died last night. And my mom sent me a text and she said that she called her on the phone and spoke with her, and Darlene said, "I'm ready to go." And so that, I don't know, that makes me feel good and feel sad at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're toasting to my auntie Darlene.
What are you toasting with, Angela?
I have my favorite, which is a Marseille. It's like an Amaro.
Okay.
And yeah, I love it. So.
And Keith, what are you having?
What's your cocktail there?
Vodka and currant. It's just like this currant preserve we made in the summer, and it goes beautifully with vodka. It's like the natural pairing.
Sean is big on pomegranate.
It's a little liquid. Actually, it's a good friend of that. Like pomegranate, right down the lane.
We'll talk about that. And I'm having a mezcal old fashioned, which because I like Luxardo cherries, it doesn't have to be a Manhattan to contain a cherry as far as I'm concerned. I dropped one of those in there, and also no orange peel. I had grapefruit, so that's what we're working with.
Nice.
So cheers to Darlene.
Cheers to Darlene.
So we're calling this episode, was it Crazy Friends Doing Crazy Things? Is that what we decided on? Or interesting?
We said,
I think we were going with interesting friends doing interesting things. But I kind of like crazy friends doing crazy things. We'll have to discuss.
Accurate.
Because when LaShawn and I were talking, Keith, about weird, and I said to a friend of mine, I said that he was weird, and he took it as an insult, and I said, you should know me better than that. Weird is a compliment.
Yeah, there's a lot of normal out there, you know. It's not all good.
No, if you're not weird, you're not very interesting in my book.
And who wants normcore every day? Like that was a trend. It's over now. Please stop it.
Well, I mean, I think that the trend thing is kind of funny because it's kind of like, I mean, it's always going to come. I'm of an age where I'm amazed at what settles out of kind of cultural, I don't know, I want to call it detritus, but not really. Like somehow, style-wise, fanny packs survived and thrived. I'm still processing this. Like
that really surprised me, actually.
Yeah, right. Out of all things, and it's like, and you see the whatever fashionable people looking around, and they've got and I'm like, wow. Like I just want to see some sort of visual mashup with, like, I don't know, 1980s Orlando and the current, like, I don't know, fashion set.
Yeah, even when fanny packs were at the height of everybody had one, I thought these are not cool, and they're not gonna last.
I'm pretty sure that they're being made by like major fashion houses. I'm sure you can get like a product.
Like you can get them very high end now too. There's that.
Terrible idea.
Doesn't matter.
Gucci fanny packs. You know what people are doing with? They're not wearing them on their buttocks.
How are they wearing them?
Body.
No. So it's kind of like a hobo bag.
No, it's
hobo sling.
I have a backpack that's exactly like this, actually. That doesn't.
Oh yeah, the kind that messenger, like, yeah. I have one of those too.
To carry my
the spirit where we're culturally moving towards like tiny bagdom, like where men can wear small satchels comfortably.
I think more power to them.
Sure.
And not be judged for it. Like, you have stuff to carry, why walk around in cargo shorts all the time? You could just grab a bag.
Yeah, I don't get why men haven't transferred over fully to some kind of a bag. I don't know how. What do you do if you want to take a book on the subway or the train? It's like,
you have to wear a backpack, and that's just
subway. Have you heard of this pandemic thing? My God.
Well, I mean, at times when we're not in the middle of a pandemic.
I think the rats are like eating people too now, so there's that. Stay away from this.
I sail around New York a lot, right? And it's one of those things that there's this place. This is all going to the direction of having seen ducks fighting rats in New York in the last year. So that's where this is heading, ducks versus rats. And it wasn't really clear who was going to win. But this was all happening on a dock. So the 79th Street Boat Basin is in Manhattan, and it sounds like a fantastic address and everything like that. It's really problematic. It's terrible to go there. The river keeps moving as it does, but it's a hard area to like actually anchor up or even get into the docks. And it's a mess. But once you get onto the docks, you're met with a lot of pigeons and a lot of rats and a lot of ducks, but never as many rats as I saw like last summer. Like they were just tons of them, and the ducks had like staked their claim, and it wasn't like, these things don't go on for a minute. Like this, we were there all night, and there were ducks and rats fighting all night. Like, it's a sentence I'm not really used to saying.
I don't know who I would root for between a duck and a rat, but I know who I would root for between a rat and a seagull. And the thing that cracks me up is how they made that, remember Jonathan Livingston's Seagull, and the seagull was like the epitome of like peace and Zen and all that stuff. Seagulls are mean. They are mean. I've seen them, they will drown baby ducks.
Seagulls are rats with wings, no?
Huh?
Seagulls are wings. I've seen seagulls trying to take a whole bag of chips off of.
They're scary. They're I can't say they're evil because I don't think they have that kind of intent. They're just surviving, but they go after what they want. They are survivalists, seagulls.
They will hunt you down too. You have food out, they'll come right, they'll stand on your towel and be like.
And geese are not very friendly either. Geese are. I have no problem with people eating geese because I'm like, take some of them out. They're not very nice.
They're not nice.
Seagull.
You're cutting out, LaShonda.
Huh?
You need to adjust. You're cutting out your sound, your volume.
Set my phone a certain way in order for you to hear me and see me.
I know it's a problem.
If I do this, I know
and we can hear you.
That you can hear me well.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Now apparently it doesn't adjust on your screen to be landscape.
It is. It is.
You're
I mean, it's close enough. It's like you're in a landscape box. You're basically a square inside a landscape box, like a rectangle. That's fine. I'd rather be able to hear you. It's just,
I think that's important too, because I have a lot of special things to say.
You have lots.
Well, it's also that like it's got that distressing kind of what's going on, should I wait kind of quality. Like, I don't think Zoom etiquette has really even worked itself out yet. I mean, there's definitely a series of faux pas that we keep walking into, but exactly like what's best, I still don't think we've really worked that out.
Yeah.
All I know is I wish I would have bought stock in Zoom. I don't know if they're publicly traded, but if they are, I wish I would have bought stock.
They absolutely are, and they've done quite well.
So before we move on to talk about why you're here, I feel the need to say, since we were talking about 80s and 90s, have you watched Glow? Did you watch the series Glow?
I haven't, but I fell down the rabbit hole with Cobra Kai and fucking loved it. Sorry.
Oh, you got to watch Glow.
Dude, oh my God, wasn't it so good?
Cobra Kai was
it's
great.
Like a poor dude stuck in the 80s.
So good. It's like it just grinds the same memes, and it's really predictable, and yet it works all down the line. I'm like this. I remember like sitting with my wife, and it was like, I'm giving this exactly like 30 minutes. Like because I thought it was gonna be like one movie when I first looked at it. I didn't pay attention to the whole like, let's take up the next 30 hours of your life. But it worked. It totally did. And I'm sorry, I haven't seen Glow yet.
You might want you should check it out. It's awesome. It's based on a true story. It's about the first women wrestlers.
Yes. The glorious ladies.
Glorious ladies of wrestling. And it's, I love Mark Maron as a stand-up. He's a decent actor as long as he basically plays himself. But the other characters are super awesome. Did you watch Community?
Okay, I'll add that to the list.
Because they're one of the characters in there is in Glow. Yeah.
I think that he's busy recording all of the rat.
He's busy doing important things. He's not watching Netflix.
No, actually I watch Netflix. Like it's weird. There's time for both. Like I do a whole lot of nothing. Like I swear to God, I do like a lot of nothing.
We all do. We have to, like, you're supposed to be staying home. A lot of the better things are the more fun things that we are accustomed to doing have to occur outside of the home. And in places like Atlanta, well, that's a super spreader. They have them all the time. They're all open for the public, but they're super spreader events, which I'm not attending. So I spend a lot of time at home. And a bunch of that time is me doing nothing. And also a bunch of that time is me recuperating from the week. Like,
It's
I've had
really
some,
exhausting, all of this.
yeah, it is.
It really is.
I mean, and I think that that's something that, like, again, it's a conversation I have with my wife because, well, I mean, whatever, my wife and all that, but really, like, the main part of our social interaction in any given week is between the two of us because, well, who else, right? One of those things about quarantine. But I really feel like there's not anybody saying, you know what, it's all right to just like pause with all this a second. Like, just take a second and just stop. And I really feel like that's massively important. Like this getting thing doneness of our culture has still got plenty of people that I work with, like, just struggling to get something done. You know, like, and running in circles is moving fast, but it's not really going anywhere. But I have a lot of folks doing that. And there's this like weird frenzied must do somethingness happening.
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory about that. I think that we're all trying to keep busy because we don't want to have to sit and think and just, this is giving us an opportunity, here it goes, to really just stop and be with ourselves. And that's terrifying. It's terrifying to me. And so, and I think I think the powers that be kind of, I'm not saying there's this vast conspiracy that there, but I think there's just kind of a generalized push towards, let's not let people think too hard about all the shit that's going on because they might freak out.
Yeah, and I mean, I would agree with that. And I mean, it doesn't sound conspiracy theory-ish too much, because the reality is this is the history of nations. You know, when you have a certain, and whatever, we could go down this particular rabbit hole, but I think that should be pushed against. And I'm amazed, though. It's just that just because a million people are saying the same idea is a good one doesn't mean that a million people are right. And we could carry that onto any given any direction you ever wanted to think about. It's like, fuck fanny packs. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, just because people think it's like, it doesn't mean that suddenly it's a cool thing. It's like, I don't know, there's legitimate pieces of culture that bear out, and there's legitimate pieces of individuality that bear out. But when you just rarefy it and be like, you know what, individual ideas and whatever the fuck comes into my pretty little head is the most valid notion because I said so. And again, as a white male, I'm saying this, you know, like wow, we got to check that. Like,
Indeed, we do.
Yeah, it's like just
but then there are other folks, like, I have to say, like me, who never thought that, I never considered myself a creative person. Like, I always considered myself sort of like a reading, studying, sort of no creative skills person, actually, until I started making my own hair products and things of that sort. So, and body products.
The people who know you did.
Huh?
I said, I think that the irony is that the people who know you did think of you as such a creative person.
Yes.
Really? That's interesting. It never occurred to me. Huh?
I'm dorking you. I'm saying dork.
Is that kind of like the boing
Yeah.
that we can do when we're up? Yes, that's fun.
Please don't get off your point. What were you saying, LaShonda, please?
You were talking about bear. And the last time I spoke to you, we were talking about stuff being made. And at one point, I alluded to you and your lovely wife, who shall remain unnamed on the internets, because Al Gore's internet does not need to know who that beautiful human is. Huh?
She'll probably thank you for that. As it is, she doesn't, like, we have our conversations about like the nature of the web, and my social media presence is largely just fictitious, you know?
I get it. I completely get it. But one of the things that we were talking about last time was you making a very specific type of prosciutto. But even before that, we talked about you on this show and your making of an Amaro and how fantastic it was. It also put me down like a dirty dog, but it was fantastic while I was awake.
Well, the dose is the poison, LaShonda, when it comes to that kind of thing. It's like, it's delicious. It, depends on the quantity, I mean, but Amaro.
I don't know what else I had.
I love Amaro.
I'm pretty sure I had a bunch of whiskey.
As we've already discussed, I love Amaro.
We're huge fans of Amaros, but I mean, an Amaro is like an opportunistic drink. Like, I know it sounds weird. So, okay, in my main line of work, I deal with a lot of kids and things like this, and I do a bunch of cooking stuff, and I talk with them about this stuff, and somewhere it's really weird because I know a lot of local plants, and we go out and all these things in my brain are interconnected. I cook. There's plants nearby. I learned the plants. We use the plants to cook. It's not so unusual to me. In fact, it's actually the most usual thing in the world. We just have it somewhere in our head. And this has been this thing that's developed in the last in the 20th century, really. And now we're in the hangover of the 20th century. And where it's a plastic wrapped piece of chicken breast wrapped in styrofoam and plastic is vastly more normal to us than a piece of venison.
And it's not considered hunting in a way. Like we're so disconnected from the source of our food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind chicken. I mean, the chicken probably minds the whole process, but I eat meat, but I feel better about it if I have some sense of the provenance and understand vegetarianism. It's not like some sort of abstract religion. It can be. That's veganism. Anyway, but it's the history of people is defined by food and defined by locality in so many ways. So why not learn what's near you? Like, it's crazy that you don't. It's like, I have so many people I know who have a very hard time identifying like an edible plant when it's like surrounding them.
Yeah, that's an actual whole thing. I remember doing that with an environmental group in Flatbush, and I remember one of the guys taking some purslane out of a tree bed outside of a Met grocery store on Cortelli Road, picking it up and going, "This is completely edible," and taking a chunk out of it. Now, I threw up in my mouth a little bit because I was like, dogs pee there.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
In urban environments, people don't do that. Don't do that. You don't know what you're eating. And I don't know what kinds of weird bacteria dog urine has in it, but I promise you, whatever that is, it's probably something that's going to turn your stomach a little bit.
Well, I mean, and I mean, do you have to go that deep? Like, I don't want to eat dog piss. Like, I mean, we can stop and start right there. Like, it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, if I'm in a survivalist kind of pinch, I mean, I actually started most of my real foraging, I think, when I was living in the city, and it was really more about a curiosity, and I was living in a city that wasn't like a real city. I mean, it's Albany, New York, and I was working as a cook, and I remember having a conversation with somebody because we got in these wild foraged mushrooms in a package that said wild foraged mushrooms from France, and I was like, that's a really funny label. Wild foraged mushrooms from France. And of course, we're in upstate New York. It's a lot of country. Like, we've got a lot of real estate there, so things must grow.
What?
Right? So I started thinking
I've been to the Albany, Schenectady area, and it's several times over many years, and there's a lot of just bush.
Yeah, I used to refer to Albany as the eye of the hurricane. Like, nothing is happening in the middle, but outside of it, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Like, Albany has its charm.
And you should submit that to the city council. They could use that as a slogan.
Come to Albany. The best thing to do is leave.
Lots of stuff going around outside of it, but in the middle, not so much.
But nothing in the middle.
Well, yeah, And so anyway, that's where I was cooking and all this different stuff. And I just got into the thinking, and a couple of the people had the same idea and whatever. And we go out and start trying to find things. And that was really probably one of the more influential times when I did it. I did it when I was younger, but that was like where I grew up. We used to clam, and clamming is basically foraging for anybody who's ever done it. And
You ever picked mussels?
yes, it's not so unusual. Yeah. It's just that
I only did it once, and it was the most fun I could possibly ever imagine having.
Mussels are
It
cool.
was so fun. And like salt flats.
Yeah. The only reason you don't
fun.
see like mussels where we were is it's not very rocky, and they do kind of prefer like a substrate. They like to stick to something. So they'll get on wood, they'll get on like rocks and whatever, but they're not, once you start finding them, I mean, it's like, this is the way people lived and survived. And and when we think of the native people here, like one of the most significant signs of having a native population living in a place that remains are like they're middens, they're piles of seashells in various areas, because the folks that live there would be eating mussels or oysters or whatever, and they just said, I'll put it over there, and it went up these huge piles of oysters and things that a population ate over a given period of time. The food does define the territory, and vice versa. The territory defines us. I think as Americans, we've thrown that, we've tried to throw that notion aside, and the 20th, and the 20th century really tried to put it aside. So I guess the weird thing is, it's like, so why do I have a bear leg hanging in my basement, and why am I drinking something out of like currants, which aren't native? And we have various other little things knocking around here, is because this is what's here. I make a lot of hot sauces because for several years in a row, I had tons of friends saying like, I have a bushel of hot peppers. What the heck can I do with this? And I just answered that question.
Quick question though, are you growing currants?
We are, but not like my friend Bill. We have a couple little struggling currant, but wow, Bill. Like
I met Bill. Bill is fantastic.
He was an amazing guy.
What's the difference between a bushel and a peck?
Fuck, I don't know. I think a peck is smaller. Pretty sure like a peck is like 1/38 of a bushel or some absurd quantity,
Well, I want to jump in there because I have I used to go hunting with my stepfather when I was a kid. I never shot any of the birds. We went duck hunting. I never shot. I would shoot, huh?
It's the most awkward place to be.
Yeah,
really
well,
is. It's not hunting. I'm just waiting for you to kill.
It's not. I mean, I was too little. I mean, I would shoot the rifle at cans, but I couldn't. I was about probably 9 or 10. But I would when I would say that to people, they would like, you went hunting? I'm like, yeah. And they were all appalled. And I said, well, but are you a vegetarian? No. Then you can't talk to me about hunting. Like, you can't. If you don't eat meat, if you have a moral opposition to eating meat, then I fully respect that. But if you're not a vegetarian, you can't talk to me about hunting.
That's right.
Because
the fact of the matter
where do you think this food comes from?
You're eating somebody's hunting. Somebody's hunting or raising and then killing.
But apparently, if you just go buy your meat in the saran wrap, as you mentioned, then it doesn't count as killing an animal somehow. I don't know how people disconnect from the.
But that's the nature of it. You do disconnect from it because, I mean, damn, McNuggets are doing something out there. Like there's really like it's a food-like product, but man, it's really, I mean. It's a terrible thing that in my mind, like I just have the most magical McNugget happening right now. Like it's a good piece of food, but it's a terrible thing to do to nature or animal or people or anything.
Well, the problem with that disconnect is it's causing us to be abusive to animals in a way that we weren't before, because of the overproduction, because of the demand for it. Like meat used to be more of a luxury. I mean, you would eat meat when you could get it. You couldn't just go to the store. It wasn't ubiquitous. We didn't have it in our diet every minute of the day like we can now. So because it's so easily, readily available, we way over consume it, which has led to the industrialization of farming, which is way more cruel to animals than somebody going out with a rifle and,
And shooting one.
yeah.
And shooting and appreciating the work that goes into it. And it's a weird thing too, because there's a weird, hold on, let me step. Should I actually get the bear leg that's hanging in my basement as a point of discussion?
I think you should take us down there and we can check it out.
Well, I mean,
it freaks me out.
Whatever's
I'm
easiest
just
for you.
telling you.
I
It
would love
freaks
to
me
see it.
out, but it's
So
bloody hilarious at the same time.
my wife is actually just volunteered to go off and get the thing.
Cool.
But it's a funny thing because like, so the bear leg came to me. I didn't come to the bear leg. It's worth saying. And I have been a hunter in my time, but I am not a hunter. Like,
what do you do? Hop over there?
well, it's weirdly complicated. Like,
I'd say so.
so sure. I mean, this is the process, and I mean, so thank you, by the way. So we're looking here at we're looking at one of the forelegs, probably the right foreleg of a bear. And what I did is I gave it a nice seasoning rub and then vinegar or whatever. And this will be basically bear judo. So what we're looking at here, and there's actually issues with that possibly, so we'll talk about that. But what you have is you have a leg that is dried and cured, and you allow certain bacterial processes to happen, which have been the way that meat has been cured for millennia. And then, once it goes, your desiccation of it, you're drying it out, allows the meat to preserve, and then you can reconstitute it and use it as you need to. The prosciutto process, in short, if it's called that exactly. So this bad boy has been, lightening up. It's a funny thing. If you ever want to make prosciutto, contact me. It's fine. But it's about weight. I never realized it's about weight and controlling the bacterial process, because as it sheds water, it becomes like more viably preserved. Funny, huh? But anyway, so I got a hold of this guy because a friend of mine actually does this. Is this a reasonable spot to hang?
How long does it take before it's prosciutto?
Well, that's really a fine question. I'm working that out because what we've had is we've had now about 70 days with it, I'm going to say. So what makes it prosciutto? It's a curing process. Now, we're getting prosciutto, right? When I got a hold of this thing, and it's really funny, it's down to Justin Fornal, and if you don't know him, he's a guy that goes by various names, but he does some really interesting projects. And one of the ones he does, wow, this is going to sound convoluted if it doesn't already. So I know a guy that knows a guy.
I know a guy.
Everything starts with I know a guy.
Everything starts with I know a guy.
Conversation.
I know a guy. We've discussed that on this show.
I'm going to say that I know a guy who knows a guy who knows two guys that killed two bears and then just wanted like a rug. I wish I was making that up. So the black bear hunting season around here is very short, and it's more towards New Jersey, which is, if you don't know, I'm kind of in New York. And so if you go west, you're into Jersey and Pennsylvania and RV bears. Although we have our share around here, but not as many. So people
on Bear Mountain too.
Yeah, up a little further north. But people, so I don't know if you really run into bears. Like a black bear is a really funny animal. Like I call them a pots and pans bear because unlike other bears, when they come near you, if you like bang pots and pans, they'll run away. Like they're like giant kittens. They really don't want to be bothered. They want to eat. They want to eat your garbage. They want to like roam around for berries and turtles and whatever they eat. I don't eat turtles, but berries definitely. And they don't want to be fucked with. But if they come near you,
which is what you want out of a bear.
Actual
really?
Facts.
You want them to not want to be around you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you try that with like a Kodiak bear, apparently, and I haven't, if you try that with a Kodiak bear, that is going to be a bad afternoon for you. and possibly a bear.
Which is why people who go to Yellowstone and stuff, and they want to feed the bears, I'm like, this is not, you do not want them to get used to you. You do not want them feeling like human beings are their friends because they're, yeah, it's not a good idea.
Not only that, or like human beings owe them some shit.
Right.
Like, I don't want to owe a bear anything ever.
Yeah, but I mean, then you get into like all these things, you know, where you're like, I mean, it happened to Tony Soprano. You're moving into like rural Jersey for the sake of your McMansion. You're in the wrong ballpark. Like you're
Right.
there. Like and when we turn around and we say like, well, what do we say? But like, I want my little cul-de-sac, and the bears be damned. I mean,
listen, imagine living in a city where coyotes are still tearing people's cats and dogs up if they leave them out overnight. That's Atlanta. We have full-on coyotes chilling.
I live in a city where they're coyotes, like they run through our backyard. Like we've seen evidence of coyotes in our backyard.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna do a quick show and tell here. Can you guys see this? This was an essay that I wrote in 2nd grade. Okay, so I like pigs because I like pork chops, ham, and bacon. Pigs are pink when they are little, then they grow up and you eat them. I think I was not meant to be a vegetarian. All the other ones are very like polite, like, you know, like I like puppies because they're fluffy and you can play with them, and you know, but yeah, the pigs were immediately I went to bacon.
Unless of course you had a taste for puppies, in which case you'd be eating them too.
Puppy stew, yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing because I've eaten a lot of different things. I might have eaten dog. I mean, I've eaten coyote. I mean, and as a friend of mine calls it, coyote is ethical dog. Really, you know, I've prepared coyote, and it's not that far away. So it's kind of like, where do we cut the line? It's like,
Right.
okay, sheep, no, coyote running wild in the backyard. Yes, I mean, it wasn't the most popular dish at the buffet. It's worth mentioning, but.
I remember going once to the Explorers Club dinner with a boyfriend of many moons ago. And I remember skipping the tarantula, which apparently was what made people sick. Like it was in the New York Times. Everybody got very sick, and it was salmonella or something, or E. coli. One of the two was in the tarantula, the temperate tarantulas. But I've eaten some weird things because fun time to eat weird things and got drunk. So I was like, sure, when in Rome.
Justin, Johnny Bearleg over here was probably associated with that because he is a member of the Explorers Club, and weird food is his jam. And he like weird, like, yes. So that's not unlikely. I mean, really, I don't know if you were at the last one, but we were eating goat's heads and things, and frankly, they were delicious.
The last what? Explorers Club?
The last one, the big buffet thing that Fornell put together, that Justin put together.
No, I wouldn't have been. I only went to that one with you guys that time, which was fantastic. And what a wicked party. And the food was delicious, which you must eat because the drinks are strong and frequent.
And homemade.
And that
and delish, like very tasty cocktails.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we're at 40 minutes. I just wanted to put in a
right.
Hands, yeah.
Interesting friends doing interesting things. How do we top Keith?
I don't know if it's possible.
Who's our next guest? Keith, how do we top you?
Yeah.
I mean, not for nothing get boring. A lot of folks are actually doing some really cool shit. I mean, just like not to flip it back on you, LaShonda, but like I love what you're doing. Like I think that you like the products you're talking about are actually, first off, they smell right. Like there's something about them that I'm like, wow, this is really like cool. It feels really healthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, and it's like it doesn't have to be like, you know, I really feel like I need to explain the bear leg thing, but it's become like such a normal feature that's down there by the laundry machine. But it's like, you know, yeah, I mean, it's, but it's like,
what did she say?
Oh, my wife has a habit of sniffing the bear leg.
We're gonna have to have her on next.
Yeah, good luck. I wish you. I will. Good luck.
Will she be on our?
But
Nipping the barrel.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to this, it's very funny because like this is normal in a lot of ways, and that's the funny thing. Like I would want to talk to somebody who's like, frankly, who either hunts or just prepares different things or has an idea for things. It doesn't have to be like special. Like I know people who like forage for mushrooms, and just their simple thoughts about what they do is amazing. Boring
Okay.
stuff is kind of where it's at, man. I love where people are doing things. I love people making their own stuff, and it's a lot more common than you think.
Yeah, I believe that. I remember there used to be an herb walk through Prospect Park that was sponsored by Third Root, which is in Titmus Park. So maybe we need to get in touch with them.
Which it wasn't just Third Root, but it was Third Root working with the lady who was the herbalist that was right off Cortez, who had been there for the mall.
Yes.
Yeah, I know a lot, and I promise you, I don't know what she knows by a half. At least locally.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, she's ridiculous. Like it's really funny because I don't know, people talk about it, and I hope that she would, and she does. She's a brilliant person, but doesn't make a big thing about it, and that's the thing. Like it's yeah, it's just normal. She's brilliant. Oh my God, yeah. Find her, see if she'll talk to you. She's phenomenal. What is it called?
Angela wants to know if we can stay on for a minute after we're done recording.
I guess there was no point in me chatting, sending you a chat.
I was like, I gotta press buttons. No.
You just announce it.
Do you mind staying on for just a few minutes? Because I think we're gonna wrap up because we're at like 45 minutes or so now.
Which, Keith, here's the thing. We have been saying since our first episode, we want to aim for 30 minutes. And we have never been under 40. And the times that we've said, this time we're really going to try, they're even longer. I think our longest one is an hour. It's like, I think our sweet spot is about 45 minutes, but.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find a balance. I mean, I'm fine with whatever you're going to do. I have time for this. But, it's like when it's a struggle. I have thoughts on the matter, but we'll talk later.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming on, LaShonda. This is a great idea. Love it.
I appreciate you, Keith, for coming on and just chatting us up for a few minutes about all the things that you're doing, in and around the house, all of the foraging things that can be done.
And will you come back when it's prosciutto? Can we watch you make a prosciutto sandwich or a pizza?
Technically, I think we are there. Now we're just getting into aging. I would love to do something in the woods if that would be okay. But
that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That'd be great.
Because ramp season and other things come sooner.
Oh, I love ramps. Ramps and mushrooms. I'm a mushroom person, so.
I like mushrooms, but I'm afraid of eating the wrong ones. So
yeah, it's a good thing to be afraid of.
Oh my God, I could probably walk you through I have a short little discussion I can give for people that's basically like 2 or 3 killers, 2 or 3 tasty mushrooms, and then others if you want to try and find them. That actually are totally up the East Coast.
Those are regional growth. So weird mushrooms that aren't on that list don't necessarily grow in abundance on the East Coast because of what, moisture and soil?
No. The ones I'm thinking about, the killers, they'll grow perfectly happily by you, by me, no problem. Yeah, they're highly invasive.
Okay.
When you think of Amanita phylides or death caps, or others, yeah, they'll grow by you. They are growing by you. We have destroying angels, plenty of them, and they're beautiful, but they'll kill us all. And apparently are very tasty by those who've survived.
This is not an uncommon theme in nature, is it? On that note.
So you'll come back and take us on a nature walk then?
I would love to. I'm down for
that. That'd be awesome.
Stuff anyway, like this is a Tuesday. I'll do it.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, LaShonda, my friend. And yeah. And we'll
Thank you,
see you guys
Angela.
next week.
And you have my deepest condolences about your aunt. My aunts
you.
are vocal in my life to this day, so I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's hard. And it just seems like too many people recently are checking out. It's making me sad. I put in an order to the universe. Can we just take, I know this is the way it has to be, but can we just take a pause for a break? It's too hard. It's too hard.
It's true.
All right. So we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Keith, and thank you, LaShonda, and please subscribe to our channel. And until we see you again, I'm Angela.
And I'm LaShonda.
And we are
A Black woman and a white woman walk into a bar.
all right.